You know, I was talking to a wonderful woman the other day, a vibrant, sharp lady in her 70s, and she said something that really stuck with me. She leaned in and said, I still feel that desire, that spark for intimacy, but it's like the rule book has changed, and no one gave me the new edition. She laughed, but I could tell there was a real sense of confusion, maybe even a little sadness behind it. And I thought, how many of us are feeling that exact same way? If that resonates with you, even just a little, then you are in exactly the right place. Welcome, my friend. Today, we're starting a very important, and I believe, a very beautiful conversation about reigniting intimacy and fulfilling connection after the age of 60. This isn't about trying to recapture your 20s or 30s. It's about embracing what intimacy can and should be right now, in this chapter of your life, which can honestly be the most rewarding one yet. Now, if you're watching this, you might be thinking, is it even normal to still want this? Let me answer that right away. Absolutely. It is not just normal, it's a wonderful sign of health and vitality. The desire for closeness, for touch, for that deep connection with another person, that doesn't have an expiration date. But what does change is the path we take to get there. And that's what we're going to explore together over the next little while. We're going to talk openly, honestly, and without any judgment about the physical changes, the emotional needs, and the simple practical things we can do to make intimacy not just possible, but truly joyful again. So, let's just dive right in and start with the most important place we can, understanding what's happening with our own bodies. Because knowledge, my friend, is power. It takes away the fear and the confusion. For women, after menopause, the body produces less estrogen. This isn't just about hot flashes. It can lead to vaginal dryness and what doctors call atrophy, where the tissues become a bit thinner and less elastic. Now, that sounds clinical, I know, but what it really means is that sometimes intimacy can become uncomfortable or even painful. It's not that the desire is gone, it's that the body isn't responding the way it used to. And for men, it's often about blood flow. Achieving and maintaining an erection might require more direct stimulation and more time than it did decades ago. It might not happen as spontaneously. This is so incredibly common, and it is not a reflection of your attractiveness or your masculinity. It's simply physiology. But here's the fantastic news. These are not dead ends. They are simply hurdles, and we have the most amazing tools to help us over them. This is where that medicine the woman in the interview mentioned comes into play. For many women, a simple over-the-counter lubricant or a prescription estrogen cream can make a world of difference, transforming discomfort back into pleasure. For men, medications can help with blood flow, acting as a catalyst to let your body do what your heart and mind want it to do. Thinking of these as helpers rather than crutches changes everything. They're like reading glasses for your sex life. They just help you see things more clearly and enjoy the experience fully. And this leads us to perhaps the biggest shift in mindset we need to make, redefining what we even mean by sex. If we measure our intimate experiences by the standards of our younger years, by how long things last or how quickly we get aroused, we are setting ourselves up for frustration. The goal isn't to have a marathon session. The goal is to have a deeply satisfying connection. So, let's expand our definition. Intimacy can be a long, luxurious foot rub. It can be kissing for 20 minutes without it needing to lead anywhere. It can be taking a bath together, talking and laughing. It's about pleasure, not performance. This is where preparation becomes your best friend. Instead of waiting for a spontaneous spark that might not come as easily, you create the conditions for intimacy to flourish. This means talking with your partner beforehand. It means having that bottle of lubricant right there in the bedside drawer so you don't have to fumble for it awkwardly. It means setting aside time when you're both relaxed and not rushed. It's about setting the stage for connection, and that in itself can be a beautiful and anticipatory part of the experience. Now, all of this talk about the physical is so important, but it's only half of the equation, because true intimacy, the kind that fills your soul as much as your body, is built on something even more fundamental. It's built on emotional connection, on friendship, and on being true partners in every sense of the word. And that is exactly where we're going to pick up in our next conversation. But before we continue this journey together, I'd love to hear from you. Has this resonated with you? What has your experience been? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Your story could be the very thing that makes someone else feel less alone. If this felt helpful, give this video a thumbs up, and please subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon so you don't miss what comes next. It truly helps us continue making content that matters to you. Until next time, remember, you deserve a life filled with love, connection, and joy at any age. Stay blessed.
It's interesting, isn't it? When we start to understand what's happening with our bodies, a lot of the frustration just melts away. It stops being a personal failing and becomes simply a new landscape to explore, and that is such a liberating shift to make. But, as we hinted at the end of our last talk, getting the physical pieces right is only part of the story. It's the foundation, but the beautiful house that's built on that foundation, that's the emotional connection. Think about it for a moment. When you were first with your partner, whether that was decades ago or more recently, what was it that really drew you to them? Sure, there was attraction, but it was likely the way they made you laugh, the way you could talk for hours about nothing and everything, the feeling of being completely understood and accepted. That magic hasn't gone anywhere. In fact, it's had decades to deepen, like a fine wine. But sometimes we forget to uncork the bottle. We get so focused on the act of intimacy that we forget the connection that makes intimacy meaningful in the first place. This is the secret sauce, my friend. For so many men and women in their 60s, 70s, and beyond, the greatest aphrodisiac isn't found in a pill bottle. It's found in friendship. It's in the shared glance across a crowded room, the inside joke that still makes you both chuckle, the comfort of sitting together in silence, reading, and just enjoying each other's presence. When a man feels that his partner is truly his best friend, his confidant, his adventure buddy, the woman he can travel through life with, that is what creates a sense of safety and desire that is incredibly powerful. It takes the pressure off performance and puts it back onto partnership, where it belongs. And this brings us to the single most important skill for reigniting intimacy, and it's one we often shy away from: communication. I know, it can feel awkward to start a conversation about something so personal. You might worry about hurting your partner's feelings or feeling vulnerable yourself. But let me reframe it for you. Talking about your intimacy isn't a criticism, it's an invitation. It's you saying, what we have is so important to me that I want us to make it even better together. So how do you start? You don't have to sit down for a big serious meeting. Try it when you're both relaxed, maybe on a walk or driving in the car, side by side, which can sometimes feel less intense than face-to-face. You could start by saying something like, I was thinking about us, and I really miss feeling close to you. I'd love it if we could spend more time just cuddling. Or, I read something interesting about how bodies change as we get older, and it made me think we could explore some new things together. Use I statements. I would love it if. Or, it feels so good to me when. This isn't about what your partner is doing wrong. It's about what you can discover together that feels right. And this conversation isn't just about the bedroom. It's about everything. It's about planning that trip you've always talked about. It's about trying a new hobby together, even if you're both terrible at it. It's about dancing in the kitchen while you're making dinner. All of these moments of shared joy and vulnerability are deposits into your emotional bank account. They build up a reservoir of good feeling that naturally overflows into physical intimacy. It makes you remember why you chose this person, all those years ago. Now, let's bring this back to the physical, but with this new emotional lens. We talked about redefining sex to include more than just intercourse. One of the most beautiful ways to do this is to rediscover the power of touch for its own sake. I want you to think about sensual touch, not just sexual touch. What's the difference? Sensual touch has no goal other than to feel good and to connect. It's giving your partner a long, slow foot massage with scented lotion, not because you want it to lead to something else, but just because you love them. It's brushing their hair, holding their hand, tracing patterns on their back. This kind of non-demand touching is incredibly intimate and relaxing. It tells your partner, "I love your body simply because it is yours," without any pressure. It allows both of you to get out of your heads and back into the sensations, which is where pleasure truly lives. When you focus on this kind of connection, on communication and sensual exploration, you create a space where both partners feel desired, appreciated, and safe. And in that space, amazing things can begin to bloom again. But of course, we are physical beings, and sometimes we need a little inspiration, a few new ideas to explore that can add a spark of novelty and fun. And that is exactly where we will go next. If you're finding this helpful, if it's making you think, or even giving you a little hope, please let me know in the comments below. Your stories and insights are so valuable to this community. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and give the video a like. It really does help us reach more wonderful people like you. Until we continue, remember, the best intimacy is a conversation without words, a shared secret, and a journey you take together. Stay blessed.
Isn't it amazing how a simple shift in perspective can open up a whole new world to possibility? Focusing on that emotional connection, on friendship and communication truly changes everything. It takes the pressure off and allows us to remember that this is all supposed to be about joy, about pleasure, about feeling good together. And once that foundation of trust and partnership is solid, my goodness, that's when we can really start to have some fun and explore. Because let's be honest, sometimes a little novelty, a little spark of something new can work absolute wonders. It doesn't mean what you were doing before was wrong. It's just like adding a new spice to a favorite recipe. It brings out new flavors you didn't even know were there. Now, I know the word explore might sound a bit strange or even intimidating, but I'm talking about simple, accessible things that can make a profound difference. It's about being open-minded and curious with the person you trust most in the world. So, let's talk about one of the most powerful tools for pleasure at any age, but especially ours, the humble vibrator. Now, I can almost hear some of you thinking, "Oh my, that's not for me." And that's perfectly okay. But just hear me out for a moment. For many women, especially with the physical changes we discussed, achieving orgasm can take more direct and consistent clitoral stimulation. A small, simple vibrator isn't a replacement for a partner, it's an assistant. It's a tool that can help you both discover new levels of pleasure together. It takes the pressure off him to perform and allows him to be a part of your pleasure in a whole new way. Think of it less like a mechanical intruder and more like reading glasses for your sex life. It just helps you see things more clearly and enjoy the view. Starting with something small, quiet, and simple is the key. It's not about anything wild, it's about enhancing what's already there. And while we're on the subject of tools, let's give another standing ovation to Lubricant. We mentioned it before, but it's so important it deserves its own moment. A good lubricant is not a sign that something is wrong, it's a sign that you're smart and you care about comfort. It makes everything feel smoother, more sensual, and prevents any discomfort that can just shut the whole party down. Keep it handy, use it generously. It's one of the easiest and most effective ways to ensure physical pleasure is front and center. Now, exploration isn't just about products. It's also about place. When was the last time you were intimate somewhere other than your bedroom? I'm not suggesting anything extreme, but what about a long, warm shower together? The water is relaxing, it feels great on the skin, and you can just enjoy washing each other's backs. What about on the living room couch with a soft blanket? Changing the scenery changes the routine, and that can break you out of old habits that might have become a little predictable. Even just changing the lighting in your bedroom, using a soft lamp instead of the harsh overhead light, or lighting a scented candle, can engage the senses and create a completely new atmosphere. It signals to your brain and body that something special is happening. And finally, the most important form of exploration, exploring time. We get so caught up in the idea that intimacy has to happen at night when you're both tired from the day. What if you tried a lazy Sunday morning instead? Or a quiet afternoon? Your energy levels are completely different. You're more relaxed, you're not rushing to go to sleep, you have the time to truly slow down, to talk, to touch, to just be together without a clock ticking in the back of your mind. Giving yourself the gift of time is perhaps the greatest luxury we can afford ourselves at this age. All of this, the communication, the emotional connection, the new tools and ideas, it all comes together to create a new, vibrant chapter of intimacy. It's a chapter built not on the frantic energy of youth, but on the deep, knowing and profound connection that only decades of life can bring. You have earned this. You have earned a relationship that is not only loving, but passionately alive. If this series has inspired you or given you something to think about, I would be so honored if you shared your own experiences or thoughts in the comments below. Let's keep this supportive conversation going. If you found it valuable, please give this video a thumbs up, share it with a friend who might need to hear it, and subscribe to the channel for more honest conversations about living your very best life after 60. Thank you so much for spending this time with me, for your openness, and for your courage. Remember, your story isn't over. The most intimate and connected chapters may be happening right now. Here's to your health, your happiness, and your joy. Stay blessed.